Hey everyone, it's George from Blockchain DXB and today is the 27th of October 2022 and the global cryptocurrency market has crossed the $1 trillion mark once again. And in today's episode, we're going to discuss if Tether.to USDT is the reason why the global cryptocurrency market has gone up. Now listen guys, I've been tracking this information on a daily basis for over 2 years. Since the last 24 hours, the only volume that has gone up is Tether.to USDT, and surprisingly, because of that, the price of Bitcoin, Ethereum and the global cryptocurrency market has gone up as well. So we'll be talking about that in today's episode. But the major news that we're going to be discussing in today's episode is a report by the Bank of International Settlement, and this has to do with Central Bank Digital Currencies. So the news is BIS, or Bank of International Settlement, has released a report called as Project M Bridge, and this has to do with MCBDC, or multiple central bank digital currencies. So essentially, a joint report has been published by Hong Kong Monetary Authority, Bank of Thailand, People's Bank of China, and the Central Bank of UAE. So looks like Dubai and UAE are definitely making its move in central bank digital currencies. So we'll be exploring the good things and the negative things of central bank digital currencies as well. This also leads me to one of the news that I'm going to be talking about so far as UAE is concerned. Because on the 17th of November, I do plan to have an event called a Central Bank Digital Currencies, and we will be discussing the basics, the threats to freedom, and its role in the Metaverse and quite a lot more. So when we'll be talking about UAE news, I will be retouching about this once again. Now regarding Meta, there's some massive news, and unfortunately Meta's division has reported $3.6 billion quarterly loss. So we'll be exploring where to look at information from first source. Now look guys, there is a lot of fake news and incorrect information, so I'd really recommend you to look at information from first source. So I'll be sharing information directly from Meta's earning calls report. Now we have some positive news about Dogecoin, and looks like Dogecoin is heading to the moon. And this is most likely because of Elon Musk's deal regarding Twitter, and looks like he's definitely on the verge of purchasing the social media giant on Friday. So is that the reason why the prices of Dogecoin have gone up? Now apart from Dogecoin, Reddit, they had launched NFTs, and a couple of months ago, I did discuss the Reddit's NFTs as well. Fast forward to 24th of October, Reddit's NFT volumes did reach an all-time high. So we'll be exploring that news as well. Now regarding UAE, the first news I already talked about, that is the event on central bank digital currencies. And there is another event that takes place from the 3rd of November till the 17th of November, and that is Bitcoin Beginner's Guide. And look guys, I tend to do these sessions every month exploring what Bitcoin is, and I do feel that is so critical that people need to understand the basics of Bitcoin. So the session that starts on the 3rd of November till the 17th of November, it is essentially a 3-part series. So the first session takes place on the 3rd of November, the second on the 10th of November, and 17th of November, called as Bitcoin Beginner's Guide. So in today's episode, I'm going to be exploring what is it that I'll be discussing in that series. So let's kickstart today's episode. Welcome everyone, it's 18, you're in Dubai and you're listening to Crypto and Coffee at 8, where we cover top news and information pertaining to Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, Defi and Metaverse. And how the series of episodes in the Crypto and Coffee at 8 works is, we usually cover some top news and information pertaining to Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, Defi and Metaverse. And how the series of episodes on the Crypto and Coffee at 8 works is, we usually cover some top news and information pertaining to the price of cryptocurrencies, some major breaking news, occasionally short and sweet news as well, news that has an impact in the cryptocurrency world. The other two news and information is related to Dubai, UAE and Middle East, and the world of Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, Defi and Metaverse. And this is followed by Ask Me Anything series, where you listeners can ask any questions from the cryptocurrency world. And guys, tomorrow, that is Fridays, I do have a session called as Metaverse Everything, where we solely focus on Metaverse, so please check out those episodes as well. And today I'll be recording a Metaverse Everything podcast session with one of the founders of Meta Decrypt, and she's one of the OGs so far as Metaverse is concerned, so it's going to be really interesting what she has to say regarding events taking place in Metaverse. And most likely guys, I will be publishing that episode tomorrow along with the Metaverse Everything podcast. So today and tomorrow I'm going to be extremely busy divulging into what Metaverse is. Now the Metaverse Everything podcast that I'm going to be releasing tomorrow is completely different, and the format is completely different to the Crypto and Coffee at 8 podcast. And guys, what I tend to do is I also publish a daily and weekly report via my LinkedIn profile. My LinkedIn profile is in the show notes below, so please follow me on LinkedIn. But before we kickstart today's episode, I have an important message, so check this out. Firstly guys, Startup OI is global one-tech platform for tech. It offers global high-paying tech jobs with flexibility in working time and location, global free tech events, and tech networks to connect with global like-minded engineers. A brilliant platform to listen to the tech experts in Metaverse and to grab their insights. Now listen, all you have to do is download the app Startup OI. If you're using an Android version, go to Google Store and App Store for iOS devices. Alternatively, you can also click on the show notes below to download Startup OI. Next, guys, listen, if you're into fitness, if you're into adventure, if you want to do something wild but still want to keep your health in check, there is a new podcast in town, a podcast focusing on obstacle course race in the Middle East. The podcast is called Rise in the Obstacle Course Race, and Rise in the Obstacle Course Race podcast is a peer-to-peer community-driven podcast where they talk all about obstacle course race in the Middle East, from Sandstorm to Spartan Race, from Tough Mudder to Desert Warrior Challenge, and also the Government Gov Games, and quite a lot more. The podcast has interviews with athletes locally and internationally to get inside scoop on how athletes prepare for obstacle course race. In the podcast, they also talk about interesting stories on why they are motivated to do obstacle course race. And that's not all. They also plan to release 7 NFTs, and these NFTs are no ordinary. These NFTs will represent every emirate in the UAE. And listen guys, these NFTs are going to be absolutely massive. So do one thing, go to Spotify, go to iTunes, go to any leading podcasting platform and search for Rise in the Obstacle Course Race podcast. And finally guys, not your keys, not your crypto. If you have dabbled with cryptocurrencies and now are seriously getting to protect your cryptocurrencies, there is no better way to protect it by using a hardware wallet. And this is where Ledger Wallet kicks in. And Ledger Wallets are hardware cryptocurrency wallets made by Ledger, a company headquartered in Paris, France. And Ledger's hardware wallets are multi-currency wallets that are used to store private keys for cryptocurrencies offline. And Ledger offers 2 hardware wallets, the Ledger Nano and Ledger Nano X wallets. They are world-class experts with extensive crypto security backgrounds. They continuously look for vulnerabilities in Ledger products in a constant effort to improve the level of security. Now, in today's world, securing these digital assets is a critical challenge, and this is where Ledger kicks in. So click the link below to buy your hardware wallet and support this podcast. It is a brilliant way to support this podcast. So what are you waiting for? The link is in the show notes below. Now, since you've taken care of that, let's look at the global crypto market. And to be honest, guys, the global cryptocurrency market is looking much better in all perspectives. Apart from DeFi, the volume of DeFi is ridiculously low. So the global cryptocurrency market has crossed the $1 trillion mark, but the volume of DeFi is exactly the same. Now, when the global crypto market volume was at $920 billion, the volume of DeFi was hovering around the $3.6 to $4 billion mark. When the global cryptocurrency market is at $1 trillion mark, the volume of DeFi is still the same. So it looks like DeFi is definitely having the worst years in 2022. Now let's talk more about the global crypto market. As of 27th of October, the global crypto market is at $1.01 trillion, and since the last 24 hours, it is up by 3.17%, and the total crypto market volume over the last 24 hours is at $103 billion. Now these are the numbers that I'd really like to see so far as cryptocurrency is concerned. Now since the last 24 hours, it is still down by 15.87%. Now let's look at the volume of DeFi. Surprisingly, the volume of DeFi is exactly the same. So really, I'm not sure what is going on in the DeFi world. Now listen guys, if you're working in the DeFi industry or are a DeFi expert, share in your thoughts in the comments below. The total value locked is at $55.05 billion. So no impact has happened with the rise and increase in the global crypto market from $920 billion to $1 trillion. So look guys, there's roughly $80 odd billion which has gone into the global crypto market. Unfortunately, it has not made any impact on DeFi and the total value locked in DeFi. Now MakerDAO still accounts for 14.91% of all the DeFi protocols, and $8.21 billion is locked in MakerDAO protocol. And guys, surprisingly, the percentage of DeFi in comparison to the total crypto market has gone down. Now, as of today, 27th of October, DeFi only accounts for 3.92% of the total crypto market 24-hour volume. This is terrible for DeFi. Now let's look at the volume of stablecoins. Stablecoin accounts for $93.11 billion since the last 24 hours. And out of that $93 billion, Tether.to USDT accounts for $78.9 billion. And surprisingly, the volume of USDC and Binance USD is relatively same since the last 7 days. USDC's volume is at $4.50 billion and Binance USD is at $8.90 billion. So most likely, Tether is the main reason why the global crypto market has gone up. Now, it could be possible that people are using Tether to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies. That is the only reason why. Now, knowing the notorious history of Tether USDT, is it possible that the people managing Tether are the ones who are pumping the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies? I really am not sure. Now, the volume of stablecoins, despite being $93.11 billion, accounts for a lesser percentage of the total crypto market volume. And this is excellent, which just means that when you talk about cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin is being utilized more, Ethereum is utilized more, and other altcoins are utilized more in comparison to stablecoins. And one thing which I've been saying for the past 6 months, the volume of stablecoins has been less, and they often account for over 94, certain times even 95% of the total crypto market 24-hour volume. And surprisingly, but in the right matrix, the 27th of October, the volume of stablecoins is at $93.11 billion and accounts for a lesser percentage in comparison to previous months at only 90.37% of the total crypto market 24-hour volume. Now, these numbers are definitely not the best. Ideally, stablecoins should be accounting for less than 60 to 70% of the total crypto market 24-hour volume, but in comparison to last 6 months, the numbers are definitely much better. Now, this week, guys, I'm also looking at the top 3 NFT platforms. Flow's market cap is at $1.69 billion, and since the last 24 hours, it is up by 2.1%. ApeCoin's market cap is at $1.52 billion, and since the last 24 hours, it is up by 2.6%. Sandbox market cap is at $1.19 billion, and since the last 24 hours, it is up by 3.01%. Now, guys, let's look at the market share, because there is a drastic movement both in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin's market share is at $399.8 billion. I believe in the next 4 hours or so, it just might cross the $400 billion mark. Ethereum's market share is at $191 billion. If you look at the 24-hour trading volume, Bitcoin's 24-hour trading volume is at $58 billion, and Ethereum's 24-hour trading volume is at $30.8 billion. Surprisingly, the dominance of Bitcoin has gone down, and it is at 39.70%, and Ethereum's dominance has gone up by 19%. Now, guys, the last metric that I'll be discussing is the top 5 smart contracting platform, and I'm only going to be discussing the market share. Ethereum's market share is at $191 billion. Binance BNB has marginally gone up at $46.68 billion. Cardano is at $14.04 billion. Solana is up by $11.45 billion, and Polkadot is up by $7.66 billion. But surprisingly, guys, since the last 24 hours, the crypto that has gone up the highest is Dogecoin. And towards the later part of the episode, we'll discuss why that is. Is it because of Elon Musk's news trying to purchase Twitter? Is that the reason why the price of Dogecoin has gone up? We'll very briefly talk about that. Now let's quickly look at the king of all kings, that is Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is at $20,823, and since the last 24 hours, it is up by 3.27%, and since the last 7 days, it is up by 8.79%. Now, guys, regarding Bitcoin, there's some massive rumor going on regarding FTX exchange, and apparently over $600 million was liquidated on FTX exchange, and there are rumors that Sam Bankman-Fried was the guy who was trying to short Bitcoin. So it looks like he might have lost roughly around $600 million by shorting on Bitcoin. Now, if you do have any further information, please to mention that in the comments below. And one of my favorite YouTubers, Crypto R Us, he does have an episode dedicated only to that, so I would definitely recommend you guys to go and listen to it. Really useful information. Ethereum, the first world computer, is at $1,564, and since the last 24 hours it is up by 5.75%. Since the last 7 days it is up by 21.13%. Binance Coin is currently at $292. Since the last 24 hours it is up by 2.48%, and since the last 7 days it is up by 7.53%. Now guys, since we've taken care of the price of the cryptocurrency volume, let's talk about a massive news that is going on in the cryptocurrency world, in the fintech sector, and in the monetary world as well. So what happened is the Bank of International Settlement did actually pilot a CBDC project called as Multiple CBDCs or MCBDCs, and we'll be discussing in today's episode the real value of central bank digital currencies. And the Bank of International Settlement has released a report called as Project M-Bridge, Connecting Economies Through CBDCs, and essentially it is a joint report by the Bank of International Settlement Innovation Hub Hong Kong Center, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, the Bank of Thailand, the Digital Currency Institute of the People's Bank of China, and the Central Bank of the UAE. And I know for a fact that a bank from UAE called as FAB Bank, that is First Abu Dhabi Bank, they are also part of the MCBDC's pilot project. Now the report is a 50-page document which gives detailed information and shares pilot transactions, statistics, and also has some suggestions for improvement, and looks like the multiple central bank digital currency has taken off. And the article, guys, has some crucial information on implementing zero knowledge proof. And what the article states is sensitive and confidential data are stored off-chain in each jurisdiction's local database contained within the local jurisdiction. Even in cases in which such data need to be stored on the ledger, it will be properly encrypted. And additionally, the development teams are in the process of evaluating zero knowledge proof methodologies to enforce stronger privacy against arbitrary central bank validators. And look guys, there's this notion that central bank digital currencies will take away your right to freedom, and part of me does actually agree to it. But, and guys, looks like central banks all over the world are aware about privacy concerns, and that's one of the reasons why maybe they are trying to implement zero knowledge proof. Now I know for a fact that some banks, what they're planning to do is the central bank will be managing the supply of central bank digital currencies, but so far as the block producing or validator nodes or authenticating transactions are concerned, that will not be done by them. That would be rather done by banks. So that way they're trying to tackle zero knowledge proof. So the intention of this report may be great, and looks like all of this may serve to alleviate data confidentiality and governance concerns, and teams are in the process of evaluating zero knowledge proof methodologies to enforce stronger privacy against arbitrary central bank validators. So the intentions might be good. So my big question is, guys, let's say 3 to 5 years down the line, will central bank digital currencies be a threat to stablecoins? What are your thoughts on that? Now remember, there are different types of central bank digital currencies. You have retail CBDCs, you have wholesale CBDCs, and you have multiple CBDCs. So what we are talking about right now is only to do with multiple central bank digital currencies. And when you guys talk about Metaverse, is retail CBDCs an ideal form of payment in the Metaverse? Now I definitely do think so. And guys, if you do want to find out my thoughts on that, listen to my Metaverse Everything podcast that I released 2 weeks ago, where I discuss the ideal form of payment and medium of exchange in the Metaverse. The next question that I want to ask is, and I really want you guys to think about this, is if central bank digital currencies were to make the source code completely open, build it in an open blockchain protocol, and implement zero knowledge proof, why do we need cryptocurrencies? The other idea is, if a central bank digital currencies, let's say, were to you have the source code completely open, were to do it on a public and open blockchain and implement zero knowledge proof, instead of doing all those things, they may as well implement Bitcoin as a form of digital currencies or make it as a legal tender. That's one way of looking at it. Now we at Blockchain DXB do have an event on the 17th of November where we'll be talking about central bank digital currencies, the basics, threats to freedom, and its role in the Metaverse. And guys, later on when I'm discussing the UAE news, I will be exploring in detail what I'm going to be discussing in that session. Now let's talk about some news regarding Meta. Now Meta or Facebook, they did have an earnings call report. Now in the earnings call report, it states that Meta's Metaverse division has reported a staggering loss of $3.67 billion. Now guys, what I really recommend you to do is, rather than listening to news from mainstream media or listening to or reading through article via CNBC, Forbes or Reuters, which often give out misleading information, look at information from the first source. So go to Meta's website. They have provided the official earnings report, and the official earnings report did actually state that Meta's overall third quarter losses are $600 million more than expected. Now if you go through that report, it does actually say because of the currency valuation of the US dollar, that is one of the reasons why there is a loss. So let's say if there was no fluctuation in the value of the US dollar, they would be up by $1.67 billion. Now no mainstream media is talking about that. They have also talked about the number of active users, which has surprisingly been on an increase since the past 6 months or so. Now listen guys, Facebook, they have a feature called Reel, and a lot of the users are actually utilizing that. And that user interaction, I do believe, will play a massive role in transitioning these users into Metaverse. Now what I'd really recommend once again guys, go through the official document and then compare it with what mainstream media is saying, and you would be surprised the information does actually contradict. Now all official information can be found on Meta's website, and in my LinkedIn post for today, I have provided a couple of links. One of the link is the official earnings report, the second one is the commentary, and quite a lot more. Again guys, read through the official document, compare it with mainstream media, and you will be surprised with the misleading information that mainstream media is putting out there. Now guys, let's talk about some massive news about Dogecoin, and Dogecoin is in an uptrend and it is up by over 13% since the last 24 hours. And the reason why Dogecoin is up is most likely because of Elon Musk's Twitter acquisition deal. And Elon Musk did mention that he's going to be purchasing a Twitter for $44 billion, and most likely the deal is going to be closed on Friday. In the past, Elon Musk did actually mention that for the subscription charges of roughly around $3 or so, he's planning to use Dogecoin. Now because of these rumors, the prices of Dogecoin has gone up, and once again, it is extremely possible that there might be a crash immediately after Elon Musk is the owner of Doge. Now guys, let's talk about news from Reddit, and the Reddit NFT volumes is at an all-time high. And CoinDesk has an article that reports that Reddit NFT trading volume hits an all-time high as wallet holders near 3 million. And the article states the trading volume of Reddit NFT avatars eclipsed $1.5 million in 24 hours, and this happened on October 24th. And they've taken the data from Polygon and Dune Analytics, and the daily sale volumes of Reddit NFTs also hit a new all-time high of 3,780 digital collectibles. And guys, the founder of Reddit, I believe he has a brilliant podcast. I'm trying to recollect if it is with Anthony Pompliano from the Pom Podcast or with Laura Shin. But what I would really recommend you to do is make sure that you go and listen to that particular podcast, because there are some really insightful information in that podcast. Now guys, let's talk about two news regarding UAE. But before we move on to two crypto and blockchain news regarding UAE, I have two news regarding obstacle course race in UAE. The first news is about Spartan Race, and they have a massive event in December, the World Championship. And this is the second time they have the World Championship event in Abu Dhabi. And guys, I have a standalone episode with Spartan Race founder Joe Cena talking about Spartan Race NFT. And Sean, who's the Chief Technology Officer, was also in the podcast. And Calvin, who's one of the OGs in the NFT space, was at the podcast as well. So we discussed from a business point of view, why did Spartan Race decide to go ahead and launch its NFT, what were the challenges, and quite a lot more. So please check out those episodes. It is a standalone episode talking more about NFTs and not so much regarding obstacle course race. And the second message is also about obstacle course race and my favorite one, that is Tough Mudder. And listen guys, I'm on a mission to do my 100th Tough Mudder, so check both the messages now. The first message is from Spartan. Now Spartan is a global fitness brand with 10 million strong community. They create transformational events, experiences, products, and content to help people, companies, and teams tear down boundaries and expand what they believe to be possible. From day one, nearly 2 decades ago, they've been champions of human transformation, and they live to help people get outside, eat healthy, and develop habits that lead to a life of constant progress. With families of brands, they push people from every corner of the globe outside the comfort zone and immerse them in a world of tough fitness and elite sports. Now, they do this because you can face and overcome adversity head on, and your potential is limitless. Now, this year in December, in Abu Dhabi, the land of Gazelle, thousands of athletes and spectators will gather at the metropolis in the desert to compete for Spartan immortality. This is a unique opportunity to watch the world's best obstacle course race athletes compete for world championship and have your group conquer the course themselves. The massive event takes place from the 2nd till the 4th of December this year. Now, for Spartan World Championship, the ticket details and registration to the programs are mentioned in the links below. Now, if you're into running, if you are into adventure, and if you are in UAE, you definitely need to check this out. And the second news, guys, is about Tough Mudder. Now listen, guys, there are 3 things that I'm extremely passionate about. All 3 of them have some kind of similarity. That is heavy metal, Bitcoin, and obstacle course race. Now we've looked at the premier obstacle course race event, that is Spartan Race, which is taking place between the 2nd and 4th of December. But the next one that I'd like to discuss is Tough Mudder. Now Tough Mudder is unique, and I did my very first obstacle course race, that was Tough Mudder. And Tough Mudder obstacles are more fun, more adventurous, and it involves a lot of teamwork. And you can also use my promo code, which is George25, for a 25% discount. Now, if you are into running, if you are into adventure, if you are into obstacle course race, you definitely need to sign up for this event. So go to the website toughmudderarabia.com, and you can also follow them on Instagram. The Instagram handle is toughmudderarabia. Now, guys, since you've taken care of that, let's talk about 2 news regarding UAE. And the first news that I'd like to discuss is the Bitcoin Beginner's Guide session, and it is essentially a 3-part series starting from the 3rd of November till the 17th of November. So what I tend to do is every month I do have a Bitcoin Beginner's Guide session, and this is done as an initiative to train, educate, and consult the people on Dubai, on Bitcoin and blockchain technology, and this is purely done in line with Dubai blockchain strategy. And the first session takes place on the 3rd of November between 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Gulf Standard Time. The second one is at 10th November, and the third one is at 13th of November. And all of these sessions are from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Gulf Standard Time. So in this particular episode, I'm just going to give a very brief synopsis of what I'm going to be discussing on the 3rd of November. So on the 3rd of November, we're going to be talking about the history of Bitcoin, and we're going to be discussing the projects that existed before Bitcoin and what problem did Satoshi Nakamoto solve. So essentially, Satoshi Nakamoto solved the double spend problem. And guys, when you are trying to research any blockchain protocol or any cryptocurrency protocol, or even if you're trying to research Central Bank Digital Currency protocol, you need to be aware of what double spend problem is, because one of the biggest solutions what Satoshi Nakamoto invented was he solved the double spend problem. And we'll be discussing who Satoshi Nakamoto is, why it matters and why it does not. And we'll be exploring how the Bitcoin blockchain works. So what is it that goes in a block? What is it that goes in a chain? Now the session on the 10th of November, we'll be looking at BFT, that is Byzantine Fault Tolerance. We will very briefly look at the white paper. We will discuss what is private key, what is public key, and what is SHA-256, that is Secure Hashing Algorithm 256. And guys, one of Satoshi Nakamoto's biggest innovation was compiling 3 things. And what I mentioned a few minutes ago was Satoshi Nakamoto solved the double spend problem. And how did he solve the double spend problem? He solved that using hashing algorithm, mathematics, and cryptography. So we'll be very briefly looking at the hashing algorithm, the mathematics, and cryptography, but we won't go into the technical elements and details of it. We'll also look at how mining works, the halving of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin mining target difficulty will be explained. So essentially what happens is every 2016th block, the Bitcoin mining target difficulty gets adjusted. So we'll be exploring all this in detail. And then the final session, that is on the 17th of November, we'll be looking at Bitcoin's market share. And one thing which I've been covering every day on my podcast is the Bitcoin market share. And just to remember, guys, when Bitcoin was at its all-time high, Bitcoin's market share was $1.3 trillion. And fast forward to 27th of October, Bitcoin's market share is a little shy of $400 billion. Now, we'll also be talking about the different forks of Bitcoin. We will discuss one of my favorite topics, that is Lightning Network. We will discuss Liquid Network, what it is and how that could be the future of Bitcoin. And there is this notion Lightning Network, not blockchain. So we'll be exploring why that is the case. We'll also discuss the different types of Bitcoin. We'll discuss the wallets and the different types of wallet, the pillars of Bitcoin and open blockchain. We will explore the differentiation between open blockchain and private blockchain, how to buy, sell and hodl Bitcoin. And guys, I will not be giving absolutely any investment advice, and we'll also be discussing the current and the future state of Bitcoin. Now guys, let's talk about the second news, and this is to do with the multiple CBDC news which is out today. So in relation to that, I will be having a session called as Central Bank Digital Currencies, and this will be on the 3rd of November between 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Gulf Standard Time. So the session is called as Central Bank Digital Currencies, the basics, threats to freedom and its use case in the Metaverse. Now the session is essentially broken down into two parts. Now in part A, we'll be discussing what is Central Bank Digital Currencies or CBDCs. We will look at the history of CBDCs, how will central bank digital currencies work, and we'll explore the current state of CBDC. And I must add that as of today, it has already been piloted, so I'll take that into consideration, and I'll be discussing the countries currently studying and working on CBDCs, and El Salvador's role in adopting Bitcoin and what impact it had on International Monetary Fund stance or IMF stance on CBDC. And we'll also be exploring when will UAE launch its CBDC, and in today's episode we discuss that UAE is a part of the MCBDC, which has piloted the multiple central bank digital currency. And in part B, guys, we'll be discussing CBDC versus Bitcoin and if CBDCs are a threat to freedom. And guys, when we talk about freedom and freedom of speech, we will also be looking at the political implications of central bank digital currencies and what side of the political allies are in support and resistance to CBDC. And one thing which I've noticed and I've said quite often in my podcast is, generally speaking, right-wing politicians are in favor of Bitcoin, open source, freedom of speech, and they have a strong resistance towards central bank digital currencies, and vice versa. Left-wing politicians or people with left-wing ideologies are not in favor of Bitcoin, are not in favor of freedom of speech, are in favor of censorship, and surprisingly, these are the guys who are in favor of CBDCs as well. So we'll be exploring that as well. We'll be discussing China's role in central bank digital currency, and we'll be discussing wholesale CBDCs, retail CBDCs, and multiple CBDCs, and we'll be discussing today's report where they have actually piloted the multiple central bank digital currencies. So I'll try to talk about it maybe for 10 to 15 minutes, exploring each area in detail. And what I really liked in this particular report is they're at least mentioning the importance of privacy, and looks like they might be having a team evaluating zero knowledge proof so far as central bank digital currency is concerned. And finally, guys, we'll also be discussing central bank digital currency's role in the Metaverse. Now guys, listen, I'm a massive advocate of Bitcoin cryptocurrencies, but unfortunately, when you talk about Metaverse, I do think that central bank digital currencies do offer a much better use case in comparison to cryptocurrencies, at least for now. But as time goes by, once the blockchain trilemma problem is solved, it could be possible that cryptocurrencies are a better form of medium of exchange and payment in the Metaverse. But at that point of time, I do see that there are technological advancements, changes such as zero knowledge proof in CBDCs, and they might just act a much better role in the Metaverse. So guys, this session called as Central Bank Digital Currencies, the Basics, Threats to Freedom, and How It Will Impact Metaverse and More is a completely free session. You can register it via Eventbrite. Even the Bitcoin Beginner's Guide session, you can register it completely for free via Eventbrite. So that's all for today, guys, in the Crypto and Coffee Date from Blockchain DXB. In case if you guys have any feedback or suggestions, please drop me an email to info@blockchaindxb.com and check out my website www.blockchaindxb.com and check out my other website, that is area2071.com, that talks everything about Metaverse. And if you guys like listening to this podcast, please click on the follow button, give it a 5-star rating, and share the word across. Now for the next few minutes is going to be an Ask Me Anything series where you listeners can ask any questions regarding Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. So let's get started with the Ask Me Anything series. Hey everyone, it's George from Blockchain DXB. You're listening to the Ask Me Anything series where you listeners can ask any questions regarding Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. And now this series of episodes into Crypto and Coffee a Day it works is, we usually cover some top news and information pertaining to the price of cryptocurrencies, some major breaking news, occasionally short and sweet news as well, news that has an impact in the cryptocurrency world. The other two news and information is related to Dubai, UAE, and Middle East in the world of Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. And what you're listening to right now is the Ask Me Anything series where you listeners can ask any questions from the cryptocurrency world. Now I do have a question by Rishi who asks, will CBDCs be a threat to Bitcoin? Now this is a brilliant question, Rishi, and unfortunately, or should I say fortunately, central bank digital currencies will not be a threat to Bitcoin. I don't see central bank digital currencies being a threat to other cryptocurrency projects as well. And I'll tell you the reason why. When we talk about Bitcoin, it is the king of all cryptocurrencies, and Bitcoin purely works peer-to-peer. CBDCs, on the other hand, they might be a severe threat to, let's say, stablecoins, maybe even a RippleNet. I do think that central bank digital currencies will pose a massive threat to RippleNet. I don't see the use case of RippleNet when we talk about central bank digital currencies. Now, will CBDCs be a threat to algorithmically backed stablecoins? I definitely do think so. And Rishi, one thing which I've been saying pretty much every day on my podcast, there used to be two problems when we talk about stablecoins. The first one being the volume of stablecoin was ridiculously low. We are talking about $30 billion for the entire global crypto market. The stablecoins used to account for only $30 billion. Apart from that, stablecoins used to also account for over 95% of all the cryptocurrency volume combined. This was not ideal. So when central bank digital currencies are being implemented, I do think that they would take a majority of the chunk from the stablecoin market. But I really am not sure if that would also happen, because when you talk about central bank digital currencies, they will still be fiat currencies. Now, they will not be backed by debt, at least from now. Now, in order to find out more information, Rishi, what I would recommend you to do is Simon Dixon on his YouTube channel has, if not one of the most beautiful videos explaining the 6 forms of money. Now, once you truly understand that, then you would understand that the money or fiat currency that we talk about is often backed by debt. And looks like the central bank digital currencies will not be backed by debt. But that being said, it will still be fiat currencies, which means a country or a central bank can still print CBDCs out of thin air. So going back to your question, I don't see a value of central bank digital currencies as a threat to Bitcoin, because when you talk about Bitcoin, the whole idea is that the supply of Bitcoin is fixed and people want to get Bitcoin only because of its supply. Now, so far as central bank digital currency is concerned, the supply is unlimited, the demand is unlimited. But Rishi, the thing with cryptocurrencies now is that using the burning mechanism, central bank digital currencies could be in a position to cleverly manage the supply of central bank digital currencies. So that's one of the reasons why I do think it will act as a very strong threat to, let's say, stable coins, algorithmically backed stable coins, or maybe even fiat currencies. I do think that fiat currencies could probably disappear maybe in the next couple of decades or so. And there's also this notion that central bank digital currencies will also be having smart contracting features as well. So things like subscription services, things like chargebacks will be much better in CBDCs as opposed to cryptocurrencies. And one thing which I mentioned a couple of days ago, when you talk about cryptocurrencies, one of the drawbacks is subscription services or chargebacks. So in the purest sense, when you talk about cryptocurrencies, you cannot do chargebacks, you cannot do disputes, You cannot have subscription services, at least as of yet, but with central bank digital currencies, the fact that it is centralized, it could be possible that central banks will be in a position to offer custom services. They might be able to reset your private key or whatever thing that they're going to have. And they might also be having chargebacks so that consumers do feel much better. Now, keeping all these things in mind, I don't think it'll be an absolute any form of threat to Bitcoin or open blockchain. And Rishi, one thing which I always talk about is when you talk about Metaverse, I do think central bank digital currencies will be an ideal form of payment. But an ideal form of payment I do think will be Bitcoin using Lightning Network. So what I would recommend you to do is listen to my Metaverse Everything podcast. I did actually explain what is the benefits of using Bitcoin Lightning Network in Metaverse, followed by central bank digital currencies. And I've given my thoughts on why CBDCs are much better than, let's say, cryptocurrencies, at least for now. And when you talk about stablecoins, Rishi, a lot of these stablecoin issuers are taking the role of a bank. Now, it could be possible that once central bank digital currencies do go mainstream, and I'm looking at the time period of, let's say, 3 to 5 years down the line, I don't see any use case of using, let's say, stablecoins, because there is also going to be a connection between using central bank digital currencies with cryptocurrencies. So let's say if you want to buy Bitcoin, rather than using a stablecoin, you would directly use central bank digital currencies. So those are my thoughts, Rishi, about that. I don't think that central bank digital currencies will be a threat to Bitcoin in any shape or form. So that's all for today, guys, on the Crypto and Coffee at 8 from Blockchain DXB. In case if you guys have any feedback or suggestions, please drop me an email to info@blockchaindxb.com and check out my website www.blockchaindxb.com, and also check out my other website, that is area2071.com, that talks everything about Metaverse. And if you like listening to this podcast, please follow this button, give it a 5-star rating, and share the word across. And guys, remember, Monday to Thursdays, 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. we have Crypto and Coffee at 8, where we cover top news and information pertaining to Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, Defi, and Metaverse. And how the series of episodes of the Crypto and Coffee at 8 works is, we usually cover some top news and information pertaining to the powers of cryptocurrencies, some major breaking news, occasionally short and sweet news as well, news that has an impact in the cryptocurrency world. The other two news and information is related to Dubai, UAE, and Middle East in the world of Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, Defi, and Metaverse. And what you're listening to right now is the Ask Me Anything series, where you listeners can ask any questions regarding Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, Defi, and Metaverse. And tomorrow, guys, I do have an episode called Metaverse Everything, so please check that out. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day. Bye-bye.